Good evening. It's 7 o'clock. And here I am, and you probably did not get a notification. I can explain. I did a notification and then it disappeared. I could not find it. I tried and I tried to find it. I guess I just don't really know how to get around on this thing. Oh my God. You would think I would, but no, 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 no. Anyhow, I did the whole notification thing. I sent it out an hour ago and then it disappeared. I could not find it. And then well, I did find it. But after I found it, it didn't give me the little button that I need to click to go live. So, anyway, so I deleted that one and here I am and hopefully you guys will see this because I really had intended to do a video yesterday, um, last night, but I got called away to a meeting, an unscheduled meeting, and so I needed to do that. And anyway, so I'm here now. I usually don't do it on Saturdays, and actually this is a holiday weekend, remembering our veterans and those that have paid very high prices for us to have this country, what's left of it. So anyway, um, so when you come in, just say who you are and where you're signaling from and how you're doing. I hope everybody's doing okay. And don't forget to give a thumbs up because I can see how many is on here and the thumbs up ain't matching. I'm just saying. So, all right. So tonight, I was going to um, tonight I was going to talk to everyone about the some of the bank contagion that's going on. Um, just this is not, well, I don't want to say it's not new information. These are not new topics, but it's kind of some updated stuff. And anyway, if you can hear me, please put yes in the chat box so that I know, because I've had problems with my sound sometimes and I don't know until I've done a video and then somebody says we couldn't hear you. Hi, Margaret. Margaret, can you hear me? Um, anyway, so I want to explain what I believe is happening with these with these banks. Thank you. Good. I'm glad. It's really hard to get into this subject without going into a rabbit hole. Um, I don't really want to go into a rabbit hole. I don't want to go into a rabbit hole because it's just so convoluted till you would, you know, I think the average person, unless they've been following along for a number of years, would have hard time getting their head around what's actually going on right now. So we've had our country and our banking system has had several bailouts. Um, and it seems to be it's always the same banks that need to get bailed out, because they're doing bad business practices. And the bailouts come from the taxpayers. The taxpayers are always on the hook for bailing out these banks for their shoddy practices. Um, the the treasurer of the U.S. said that there wasn't going to be a bank bailout. Well, they did do bank bailouts. I mean, like right on the heels of her lying about it, they turned around and did it. And so what has happened is when you have people okaying loans and things like this for people that have substandard credit, low credit, and all these kinds of things, and they can't pay back, right? You're just trying to make your quota for the month or whatever it is. it causes a catastrophe later on down the road. That's what happened in 2008 when the real estate market crashed. Um, all this bad paper being written, all this stuff going on, and these banks start failing. Hi, Sharon. And so, hey, JB, hey, listen, did you guys get the notice? Because I tried. I did. I put out a notice like an hour ago, and then something weird happened with the notice, and I couldn't find the notice, and there was no way for me to go live on that notice. So I deleted it and thought I'm just going to go on, and hopefully they will see that I'm on. But anyway, no notice. I figured that much. Anyway, so what happens is the economic condition that our country is in and that the world is in right now, because it's not just us. This is happening around the world, and it's happening to many countries. Um, the corruption is so bad, and they've been paying these world governments um, have been paying themselves off for so many years at the taxpayers' expense till it is totally corrupt. Our country is completely corrupt. Our justice system is corrupt. Everything is. Our education system is corrupt. It's a mess. So what happens with the banks? Well, they've printed so much money till our money isn't worth anything. Now, I was trying to explain before. I'll just use a simple example. You have things that are called, rare paintings or original paintings, or you know, irreplaceable piece, something that was found in a pyramid or some whatever, right? There's only so many of them in the whole world, and that's what makes them um, invaluable. You can't even they're priceless. But the more of that thing that you have, the more it loses its value. So I said that to say, think about our money. They have printed so much money. This administration has printed more money than all of the presidents of the United States combined in one term. In one term, okay? Our money has been so devalued till other countries are getting together and creating their own monetary system so that they can do trade and all that together without having to deal with the US dollar. That's how bad it is. So, what's happening is with all this bad money, these banks are failing. People are not wanting to do business with us. Other countries are not wanting to do business with us. And so they're coming out with their own monetary system. So what happens? So now you have more money out there than what needs to be out there, and it is losing its value at the rate, I'm told, of about 5% every year. Every year. So these banks, the bigger banks, are letting the smaller banks fail, and then they're buying them up. They're buying up all their assets, whatever's left, they buy it up, right? What's going to end up happening over time, I believe, is you're going to have five banks, maybe six, in the United States that are dealing with international paper and our monetary system, whatever it's turning it, morphing into now, controlling everything. All of these smaller banks are going to be put out of business because they're not going to help them. The government will help the larger banks, but they're not going to help the smaller banks because they're going to let them fail, and the bigger banks are going to swallow them all up and eat up their assets, right? So, how does that affect you in your retirement and your 401k and all that stuff that I don't do? I don't know. You need to sit down with your family and have a conversation about your finances. I've been telling you guys this for over 2 years. I've been saying, watch your finances, watch your money. I knew they were going to do this. I didn't know how they were going to go about doing it, but I knew it was coming. I knew this was coming. You could not continue to print money. It started out with the stimulus checks, right? It started out with all that. And that all sounded all well and good because everybody was in a panic over everything being closed up and all this. And how am I going to make it? And, I lost my job, I lost my business or whatever. So they say, we're going to print some money and we're going to send you a check, or we're going to automatically deposit it into your account. And my husband and I saw well, listen, we just saw it coming, and I thought to myself, and then I said it to him, I don't feel so good about taking this money. And the reason I felt like that is because ultimately somebody's going to have to pay for it. Whether it's our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren, somebody's going to have to pay for this money, right? Because the government has no money. They have no money unless they print it or they steal it from you in taxes. They have no money. So, how do you think everything gets paid for? Well, if you're working, you're paying for it. That's how. So, we sent our stimulus check back. Well, that caused a ripple. Let me tell you. Um, we're on the phone with Department of Treasury, I think it was, making sure they got it because we sent it back. Um, we wrote void on it. We took a picture of it to make sure they did not somewhere down the road try to tax us with all that. Um, and we kept the picture. And we kept a copy of the letter that we sent. We sent it back. It caused a ripple. So the gentleman that we spoke to on the phone was just kind of holding the phone. And we explained to him why we sent it back. And he was very quiet. We were like, hello? I'm still here. He just couldn't believe what he was hearing. And I told him, I said, we don't need the money. We're not rich, but we're not broke. We don't need the money. I would rather somebody else take this money who actually needs the money. We don't need the money. And we asked, did he understand what we were saying? He understood. He just couldn't believe what he was hearing. So he says, just it's a first. Nobody's ever done this before. That's what they told us. Well, there you go. My conscience would not allow me to take that money when I did not need the money. Um, to me, that's stealing or taking advantage. Or so I think people do that because somewhere in the back of their mind they think it's free. It ain't free. So it ain't. They're coming for it later. Believe me. So I didn't need it, and I didn't want the headache later. So then it comes out the second round that they send out. They start sending out this information when it was time for tax time. Oh, now the secret's out, right? The gig is up. They let everybody know if you received a stimulus, it's taxable. Oh, they didn't tell you that in the beginning, though. See, now they want to act like it was a loan, but they didn't say that in the beginning. So this is what this government does. This is what governments do. Okay, it ain't just this. So anyhow, hi Sharon. Did I say hi to you already? Anyway, um, so these big banks are going to swallow up these small banks, and then they're going to control everything because they still have their finger on the trigger to start this CBDC, central bank digital currency. And I'm thinking that they want to start it here in the next couple of weeks, or at least by July. Now I don't know if they're going to meet their target. They've already started trying to roll it out in other places. Um, the problem with that is they can turn it off. Just like if you get a um, automatic draft or automatic clearinghouse deposit into your bank account from BA or military, whatever, they can just hit the switch and shut it off, right? They can just shut it off. and it gives them complete exposure to your financial business. So I have been trying to talk to people for the last, I don't know, couple of years about becoming more self sufficient, right? Trying to get out of the banking system as much as you can, as far as you can, as quickly as you can. Now, it took us a long time to exit that system, and we're still not completely out. But that's on purpose that we're not completely out. However, I did not like the idea of them having complete control over my finances. So there are other things that you can do to protect your assets. And I've told you guys this before, whether you're looking at land or whether you're looking at real estate, there's a timing for everything. Now, I'm not trying to tell you to go buy real estate because I'm not in marketing, and I'm not trying to tell you to buy precious metals because I'm not a financial advisor. But I will tell you this, you better do something to protect your finances, because if they can put it in your account, they can take it out of your account. We watched this happen in Canada. Some of you already know my husband was Canadian by birth, and he defected and became a U.S. citizen a couple of years ago. I think we're coming up on 2 years this year. And before he got his citizenship, we were in the process of waiting for his last appointment and all that. And we saw what the prime minister did to his own citizens in Canada, because they wanted to go back to work and they wanted their children to be able to go back to school because they had been in their homes too long. They were losing their businesses. They didn't have any money. They couldn't pay their bills. And so they went out and they did a peaceful demonstration. And he literally took their business licenses, locked their accounts, took all of their money, put some of them in jail, uh, confiscated their vehicles. How do we know? Because we had a family member that happened to, because they wanted to go back to work, because they wanted their kids to go back to school. Now, when I saw that happen, I told my husband I didn't care whether he was a citizen yet or not. We need to get our money out of that country. we got we got to get out of there. We got to get out of there. And we did. It cost us a lot of money to get our money out of there, but we got it. We got it all out. I'm sorry about that. And so I want you to think about that. Think of other ways you can change your money into something that you actually have in your hand, so that your account does not get shut down because of your political position, or because of your religious persuasion, or whatever all else that this administration does not like, right? Because the whole world has been turned upside down with this sick psychopathic culture that has permeated all of these different countries, um, and has destroyed people's lives. It really has. And because they express their opinion about something, or because uh, they, which they should have a right to do. Um, it's really something to see what is going on around the world. So I'm thinking about sometime in the future maybe doing a video about precious metals. Now, I don't know. I'm not an expert, okay? I'm looking into things, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can about it. Right now, I have notes on different companies that have been caught red handed selling fraudulent gold and silver. And so I was going to do a video about that at some point, but I'm still looking into it, and looking into how you can test gold and silver before you leave a shop, um, to make sure that you don't have something fraudulent. Because what can happen is, let's say you buy something from eBay or you buy something from Craigslist. You don't know this person, right? And you're new getting into this. You don't know this person. You don't have any equipment to test it. It looks good. It looks shiny. Whatever. Then you take it into a shop because you want to get cash for it or whatever the currency is of the day, and they test it and say this is a fake, and you're like, what? And here you've given this person $2,000 for what you thought was an authentic gold coin, and it was a fake, right? It's tungsten, but it's gold plated. It's covered in gold, but it's not gold. It's not pure gold. So you have a $8 or $10 coin that you paid $2,000 for, and this is happening, folks. It's going on, and so so I've been looking into that and trying to study up on that and looking at the different equipment and stuff. Um, there's a lot to learn about the metals business, and not that I'm trying to go into business, but I don't want to get no false stuff either. So there's that. So anyway, that's an option. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she's in the process of buying land. And she found a piece of property that she really liked, and she was telling us that it had a stream or creek or something running through it. And the first thing that crossed our mind was the U.S. Waters Act or whatever it's called. And I said, I remember reading something about this. You better look this up, because if you have a stream or something like that running through your property, the US did this Waters of the World or Waters of the US Act, where you got to go through fish and wildlife and all this stuff. You have to have a permit for that water to run through your property. In other words, it belongs to the government. It doesn't belong to you. They can tell you whether you can fish in it. They can come and seize that part of your property anytime they want to, because of some bogus law that was written in by some weird president. I can't remember who did it. But anyway, so things like that. If you're thinking about buying land that has water running through it, you better check with Fish and Wildlife, check with the farm bureaus to find out if there is another piece of paper attached to that property. Because if the previous owner or some other owner, um, prior to the one you're trying to buy from, sign this paperwork with the government, they're not giving it back, folks. They're going to keep that. They are buying up all this land. They're allowing these big wig people to buy up all this land. They're allowing foreign nations to come in and buy up our land, but you can't have it. Okay. So if you come across a piece of property that you really like, you really need to do your due diligence. Go to um, the assessor's office and find out if there are any liens, any titles, any kind of paperwork attached to that property before you put a down payment on it, because you will not be able to, it'll be hard to get your money back. Once you do that, you may lose your deposit because you didn't do your homework, right? So there's that. So the other thing that I was going to mention was the shortages continue. I was looking at some news articles and dealing with economics and all that. And they were talking about, because of the crop failures, you guys remember the droughts and stuff that happened last year, year before last, first of all, and then the year before that, because everybody was in their homes and there weren't any businesses doing business, then a lot of the crops died in the field because there was nobody, no machinery running, no equipment running to plow the fields to bring in the harvest. So that meant that the next year it was going to be slim pickings. And then that means that whatever was on the shelf was going to be more expensive because there's less of it. See, the less of it, the more it costs, right? That's food too. So then the next year we had the floods in some places and we had droughts in other places. that cut our harvest in half in a lot of the crops of things that we grow here in the US. One of the problems that we're having now is wheat. Wheat, we have a problem with paper. There's a paper shortage because the pulp mill, I don't know if it burnt up or something happened to the pulp mill that I think is in Washington State. And if there's a paper shortage, you just think about all the things that paper is used for, right? All the things that paper, hi, Lucky, all the things, I saw your RV too, nice. All the things that paper is used for, cereal boxes, paper plates, paper straws, all wood stuff, all kinds of stuff, school material, composition books, all anything you can think of, mac and cheese, whatever you can make a box out of, Amazon, UPS, all these people that use cardboard and paper to ship stuff. So there's a paper shortage now, okay, because of a wood pulp mill going offline. I tell you. Hi, Audrey. So there's that paper shortage. There's a wheat shortage. And again, it has to do with the harvest. We've only harvested maybe half of the wheat that we normally do. So these economists that I've been watching and listening to them talk are forecasting that this year, this summer, you can bank on it, if I can use that expression, that the food that you see on the shelf now, some of it will not be there because there's nothing to harvest, and some of it is going to double in price. So I've been talking to you all for the longest time about putting food aside. And some people, no matter what you tell them, they're going to say, oh, you're just fear mongering. Let me just be, you got to be a special kind of stupid to go into the store, to look at the prices, to look at some empty shelves and think this is a good idea. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you need to find some other channel that'll give you unicorns and rainbows and all that. Because I'm dealing with real life stuff here, and I see what it's doing to people and their families, and I ain't got time for you. Okay, so have a nice life. Anyhow, getting back to the grown-ups. Um, they are predicting that prices are going to go up another 50%. Now, I can tell you that I bought some chicken bouillon powder by Orrington Farms. I like them because it's like, all natural, right? I bought some chicken bouillon from them 2 years ago. Not even. I don't know if it was 2 years ago. Might have been last year. And it cost me, and this was for a package of six, right? Comes in little jars like that, about that. I think it's 16 ounces, whatever it is. Anyway, it comes in a package of six, and it cost me $17, right? A year ago. I bought the same package of six, and it cost me 30 something dollars. This was a couple weeks ago. I was like, my goodness. So I'm thinking, let me look at the back. Did they change the recipe? I looked on the back. Nope, they didn't change the recipe. Everything was exactly the same. And I shook the container to make sure that they hadn't cheated me, because that's another thing that's happening is shrinkflation, right? People are buying the same name product, but there's less in the container by an ounce or a half an ounce or something like that, but you're paying more for it. Now, what happened with the chicken bouillon? I'll tell you what happened with the chicken bouillon. You can't make chicken bouillon, not natural chicken bouillon, without chicken. Well, what happened to all the chickens, right? What happened to all the hens that they slaughtered last year? See, you see how this is a domino effect? And I can tell you that it's on purpose. Now, some idiot voted for this stuff. I wasn't one of them because I knew better. But I guess people are getting more than what they bargained for when they voted for this jackass in the White House. But anyway, um, So this is what's happening. The shortages are going to continue. The price going up is going to continue, and you've got to start restructuring, or you're going to be hurting something terrible by the end of this year. Um, you have to cook differently. You have to learn how to stretch things. I've watched videos about the Great Depression. Some of these people that are up in their 90s now, talking about what they did. And here's the interesting thing: the people that lived in the cities were not doing as well as people that lived in the country, because the people that lived in the country on farms or whatever knew how to grow some of their own food, right? So, and they may have had hogs or cows or whatever, and they knew how to preserve meat. They knew how to preserve vegetables. And they, I mean, it was a way of life for them anyway to do that, because there was no harvest in the winter. So they spent all spring and all summer harvesting, planting and harvesting food that could last them all through the winter. But they also, when the Great Depression happened, they had to learn how to cook differently. Maybe things that they were used to having every day or 3 times a week, they only did it on Sundays, or maybe they only did it on a Friday or something like that. But they learned how to cook different. So I had been looking into some of those recipes and stuff, and I ran across something called Hoover stew. And I thought, Hoover stew, what is Hoover stew? Well, let's see if I got this right. I think what they did was they would take pasta, if you had pasta, macaroni, whatever, or rice, whatever starch they had. They would take whatever vegetables they had, they threw it in a pot, put some seasoning in it. They might have bulked it up with a little thickening with, I don't know, flour or cornstarch or whatever, and that was a stew. They made their own bread, they did things like that. And and the thing is, it they would bulk it up in a way that it was filling. And they called it Hoover stew because Hoover was president at the time, and he and that's what they had to eat. But the people that were in the cities weren't faring as well. They weren't growing their own food. They had to depend on whatever was in the grocery store, if they could get what they needed to get. Um, if you look back at history, which they are systematically trying to erase, um, you can see how people did things during the war. Things were rationed. Sugar was rationed. Tobacco was rationed. Flour was rationed. When I was in the military, things were rationed. we, we had things rationed, and so you learn how not to splurge. I heard some people say, well, if we were poor, we didn't know it because everybody around us was exactly the same. And everybody shared, what they had and all that. And so that brings us to a place of, when you think about your particular situation, are you in a situation where you're on a fixed income, and you're used to eating a certain way, but now you've got to train yourself to cook differently, or to prepare meals differently so that they will stretch. Um, I saw an interview with a gentleman. This was in the UK though, and he was saying that he goes out and he has to steal baby formula because they can't afford it. Um, they live in government assisted housing, and his wife just had the baby, and he's working as much as he can, but it's just not enough to make ends meet. He says he has to choose between paying the rent, and after he pays the rent, there's no money left really to buy the formula, which is expensive. So he says he goes out, they blocked his face out, but he says he goes out and he steals it. But he doesn't know when will be the next time he'll be successful at getting a can of formula. So when they get it, they water it down. And then I saw, hi Johnny. Then I saw an interview from a doctor over there, And she was talking about how sad it is that she's seeing more and more families or children come through her clinic that are malnourished. This is in the UK while the king was having his coronation. People are starving and having to steal formula to feed their babies. Meanwhile, he's spending millions of dollars on a coronation. Um, this is how much these governments care about their citizens. And she said that these children that are coming in are malnourished. They are sick, they are underdeveloped. Um, One lady was saying that she was having to use, she was getting evaporated milk, it's not called carnation, it's something else over there, but that's all she could get. And she says she's watering it down, cutting it with water, but it does not have the nutritional value that it needs to have for a growing baby. And so this is why, even though these children are eating, they're malnourished because they're not getting the vitamins that they need. And that is not just happening in the UK, that stuff is happening here too. So when you think about all of these businesses that are closing by the thousands, okay, I stopped watching the mainstream media like, I don't know, 3 years ago, because they just lied too much. Forget it. If they said it, they're lying. It doesn't, or they're twisting the truth or something. I ain't got time for them. So, but I deal with real life people, okay, that are going through real life stuff with their kids or their grandchildren or whatever, and you can see what's going on around you, provided you're not living in a bubble somewhere, um, and know that things are not well. All is not well. I have one lady who thinks that all you got to do is just think positive. I don't know, sit in the middle of a room, glow in the dark, and everything will be okay. I don't know. I don't know. To me, she has gone headlong into mental illness because positive thinking is not going to fill your wallet, folks. You better find a way to make some money, okay? Whether you're bartering or whatever, what you need is provision. This is what I tell people. It's not even necessarily money that you need provision. You need provision. You need to be able to provide for yourself or find a way to help provide for someone else. But what you need is provision. Sitting there thinking, look, opening up your wallet and chanting, I believe it's full. I believe it's full. I believe it's full. Ain't going to get you there. Okay. I don't care how positive you think, you better do something. Okay. You better do something. So there's that. The paper shortages, the mental illness that is going on. People are so overwhelmed um, by what is going on, they just can't deal with it. So they'll just tell themselves everything's fine. As far as I'm concerned, everything's already taken place. Okay, all right. Tell an electric company you already paid your bill for the next 2 or 3 years and see how quick you'll be sitting in the dark. I mean, come on, folks. You really have to live in reality. We're dealing with real life situations here. Um, Sticking your head in the sand, acting like it ain't happening, or thinking all you got to do is think positive thoughts with no responsible action on your own is ridiculous. Grow up. So anyway, um, yeah. So this is kind of rough today, the way I'm saying things. But I think I've gotten to a place where I'm sick of dealing with the childishness. People are really in trouble, and I have spent the last 2 3 years trying to help people navigate through this. I have to navigate through it. My family has to navigate through it as best we can. Some family members I can help, some I cannot. Some will listen and still do the exact opposite of okay, whatever. And some will listen and say, I think that's a good idea, and they'll do it, and they come out the better for it. The fact of the matter is, you can't help everybody. You really can't. you're going to have to learn to live differently. I had started a library of medicinal plants and herbs of the Southwest because that's where I live. Um, Edible plants, things that may be growing near you, depending on whether you're in the city or in the rural area or whatever. It doesn't hurt to know about this stuff. It doesn't hurt. Um, our government is saber rattling, trying to get us into a war with a foreign nation. And we have not had war on our own soil since the Civil War. I mean, that's how long it's been. And so we have several generations who know nothing about war on our soil. Nobody that experienced war on our soil is alive to tell us about it. Okay. It happened that long ago. We can read about it, um, the carnage that came from that. But none of us living today have experienced that. The closest we've come to it is having been in a foreign war. If you're a veteran, like myself, or um, someone that fought in a foreign war. What we don't know is what war is like on our own soil. Um, and this is why it is so important that you get as prepared as you possibly can for disaster. I pray to God that nothing comes to our soil, but when we have our own government pushing for this and setting us up for invasions and things like this, which is what they're doing, it's not hard to secure a border. If you haven't secured the border in 3 years, you don't intend to. And that's by design. Why would they do that? To weaken the country. Because the people that are running this country hate this country. They're communists. They're Marxists. They're communists. They've been here a long time and they've been waiting for their time to strike. And now they have found it because we have weak, dimensional leadership uh, who doesn't care about the country. They just don't. They're bought and paid for by other foreign entities. Hey, Amber. And They don't care about you. And I told you this before. I said, they don't care about you. They don't care about you. These people that are coming across our border, some of them are fleeing war from their countries, but you better believe the criminals are embedded with them by the thousands. And your tax dollars, if you still pay taxes, is paying to put them in hotels, paying for their education. All the things that you cannot go to their country and get, you cannot go to any other country on this planet, to my knowledge, and be put up in a hotel at the expense of their citizens or any of that. Go to school, any of that. I have lived in two other countries and I wasn't there as a visitor. I lived there in two other countries beside my own country. And I can tell you right now, it don't work like that. They don't play that. Okay. It's only here. It's only here that this craziness is going on. So, you can't tell me that there aren't people that are still saying that this is the greatest president ever. The man doesn't even know what day of the week it is. And his wife ought to go to prison for elder abuse. It's just that simple. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So keep working on your pantry. Don't let this whole thing of these big box stores. Hi, Carolyn. These big box stores get you distracted. Uh, I heard someone say earlier today on the podcast, if you have to over sexualize children to sell your products, you ain't doing a very good job. You ain't doing a very good job. All these different stores that are having all these, um, jumpsuits and all this kind of stuff for babies that can't even walk yet, talking about their I can't even say the word. Anyway, they're confused about what sex they are. And How is a 3-month-old baby confused about what sex they are? They don't even know what they're looking at. They can't even hardly hold their head up yet. And these people are sick. I'm telling you, the psychopaths are running the country. Okay. So, anyway, this is not just happening here. Like I said, it's happening all over the world in a lot of the so called free nations. Hi, Margaret. Did I say hi to you already? Margaret says, my grandson is in the army. He has to go back to Poland. I pray for him all the time in prayer that he and others come home safe. I know that's the truth. Hi, Toffee. Um, Amber says, did you hear they are putting the immigrants up in New York College dormitories? I did not hear about that, but I did hear about the hotels. Um, and I also heard, I saw a story about this veteran and these people getting put out of these hospitals, these VA hospitals, to make room for these illegal immigrants coming in. They are trying to replace us because they know that at least 80% of this country, the other 20% is still stupid, but 80% of this country know exactly what happened in 2020. We know exactly what happened. There's too much proof out there. It's too much stuff out there, till you just have to lie to yourself to say it didn't happen like that. But it did happen like that. And they know that they will never get 80% of this country to continue to vote for that kind of craziness. So they have to bring in other people, promise them the moon, and say, now remember what we did for you. You make sure you vote for this party, or we're going to send you back to that rat hole you came out of. They're trying to replace us with, with people that are stupid or ignorant or both, that don't know any better, that are desperate, or are looking at an opportunity to make a living as a criminal in the land that flows with milk and honey. That's what's happening, folks. That is what's happening. If you think you're not dispensable, you are. Okay? They don't care about you. I keep trying to tell you. This is why, this is why elections have consequences. Okay? Cheating has consequences. And there's a whole lot I can say about who did or did not take their oath of office. All right? I'm not even going to, that's a whole that's a whole nother issue that they're trying to keep quiet. All right? The administration that is in place now, I'm just going to drop this on you, took no oath of office for this country. Okay? They didn't take an oath of office for this country. I'm just saying. You'll see. You'll find out. Watch your finances. I'm going to tell you again. You need to go to the store and get what you can get while you can get it, because come this summer, there are going to be a lot of things that are not available anymore. Or if they are available, they'll be so expensive till it's like, forget it. There are people that have been shopping and prepping for years that are way ahead. I mean, if, say for example, if 2 years ago you bought a can of green beans that was 54 cents and now it's $1.54. Well, you made out pretty good if you bought a case a year ago, or 2 years ago, and it's still good. It hasn't. And let me just tell you this about it being still good. When it says best buy, it doesn't mean it's expired. It means it just tastes best before that date. Okay. Anything that sits on the shelf for a period of time will start to change in its flavor, maybe its texture and stuff like that. It doesn't mean it's not edible. It just means it will start to change. Okay. Some stuff does expire. Same thing with medications. I was reading up about medications and I found out that a lot of things, with the exception of the tetracyclines or any of the antibiotics and things that are in the cycline family, those things can become poisonous if you go past that expiration date. I found that the things that are liquid, if it says use by, you probably need to use it by that time and then pour it out after that. But if it's in capsule form, if it's kept in a cool, dry place where it's not taking on moisture, they did a study with aspirin, Tylenol, ibuprofen, things like that. They found that 4 to 5 years after the best by date, it was still just as potent. How about that? And how much stuff have you thrown out thinking, oh, it's no good, it's no good? Yes, it is. It's still good. So just keep that in mind. Hi, Benita. um, anyway, so keep your head on a swivel. You know, a lot of the people that are coming into our country have been coerced to do so. Some people are legitimately fleeing war and things like that, but there's a way to get asylum in this country. You don't have to come through illegally. I really feel some kind of way about it because I lived in Canada 10 years. Um, I didn't just slide under the fence, folks. I had to go through the process of being a resident in that country, and it cost me money. It cost money, it cost time, it cost patience. I had to wait, I had to go through their process. I didn't even like the place, but because I married a Canadian, there I was. So I had to go through whatever it was their regulation said I had to go through. That's what I had to do. So when he came here, he had to go through the same thing. And as a matter of fact, our families that were waiting for our relatives to become citizens were pretty much cheated out of watching that happen. They would not let us come in while our loved ones were taking the oath to become citizens and to renounce their own countries. They wouldn't let us in, 6 foot apart and all that craziness that was going on. We all had to sit in our cars in the parking lot. Now, the stupid thing was when they were going through their interviews, we were allowed in. But when it was time to take the oath, we couldn't come in. We had to sit in our cars in the parking lot. It is ridiculous. Hi, Judy. So I want you guys to just think about the things that I've said. Just think about the things that I said. If you don't agree, that's your business. I don't care. I don't care. Um, just do your own research. Find out for yourself. You don't have to agree with me. It doesn't make it any less true. Okay. I'm not, my feelings ain't hurt and I'm not hungry. Okay. And I'm not broke. Just so you know. So you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with anybody. You can just, like I said, go think positive thoughts, sit in the corner, glow in the dark, and tell yourself that your whole world is perfect and that nothing's burning down around you. If that's what you need to do to make it through this, knock your socks off. Okay. The rest of us are going to be planning ahead, watching the signs of the time, doing what God tells us to do, and providing for our families as best we can. That's what we're going to do. Um, they are not coming to help you. Okay. I don't know how many ways I can say it. No one is coming to help you except those that you have good relationship with. And they are probably hoping that you come to their rescue at some point. So you need to be thinking about that. I was meeting with a group a couple of weeks back and I said, had you considered that you may have a family member that comes to you and says, I can't make it out there. I'm working 2 jobs, and by the time I pay the utilities, and only you get me started on that, the rising cost of that, um, utilities going up, the price of food going up, and all this, and the shortages that are going on, I can't make it. I'm going to have to bunk in with someone else. What happens when that person shows up at your door and says, Can I couch surf? Can I stay on your couch? I'll be glad to help pay some of the bills here, but I can't make it on my own out there. Or what happens if it's you? What happens if you get to a point where you can't make it because you are on a fixed income and your income is not going up? Your Social Security is not increasing. Your VA is not increasing. Your retirement is not increasing. As a matter of fact, half of your retirement is gone because um, your accountant put it in these different stocks and bonds, and the stock market is tanking. What if you're the person that has to make the phone call and say to another friend or family member, I can't make it. I've tried. I can't make it. I'm maxed out on my credit cards. I saw a economist talking about how I think he said something like 60% of Americans, it might have been more than that, 60% of Americans are living on their credit cards and are maxed out. And when I was hearing reports concerning what was happening in Canada, they were saying that the average Canadian citizen was one crisis away from going bankrupt. They would not even be able to handle a $400 emergency or car repair before they would be flat broke and bankrupt, because a lot of people don't have savings. They've blown through their savings, and all this has happened to people, and it's real, okay? And so when I come on here and I say you need to prepare for harder times, it's because I'm looking at the forecast, okay? This is not just happening in real time. It was biblically prophesied that this stuff would happen. So um, there's two sources right there telling you this is going to happen. And this is not the first time that this has happened, that trouble and famine and rumors of war and all this kind of stuff has come upon the earth. This is not the first time. We're not the first generation that has dealt with this. Arlington National Cemetery is a testament to that. So you need to be preparing your family to change some things around. I heard a lady the other day, she was talking about how her and her husband, she said, we're doing the best we can to provide for our oldest son, who's independent, living on his own in his own place. She said, but he could lose his job any day. We don't know. And if he does lose his job, he's not going to be able to make it out there on his own. She says, we don't have a whole lot of space, but the little bit of space we do have, we're preparing it just in case he has to come home. So our kids were raised to be independent. Don't none of them want to come home. I know they don't. I know they don't want to come home. But if they had to, then they had to. You know what I mean? I mean, what you gonna do? So, you know, God has been good to me. He's been good to you. Clearly, you're paying for internet, so you're obviously not completely broke. So I hope everyone is doing okay. Um, I hope that you take what I'm saying seriously. I'm not trying to mock anyone. I hope you're not offended by what I've said. If you are offended over me telling you to rethink your finances, learn how to cook differently, and to keep your eye on the shelves of the stores, if you're offended by that, you are definitely in the wrong. You're on the wrong channel. Okay, you need to go find Barney or somebody. But anyway, I will try to keep you as updated as I can. I've been very busy. Um, busy trying to navigate through things myself with my family, and praying and asking God, what is my next step? What's the next best thing to do? And I would suggest you do the same thing. Um, if you don't know Jesus, this is a good time to get to know him. So thank you guys for coming by this evening. I know Some of you said you did not get a notice. I am sorry about that. I tried to send it and just things went all wonky and crazy and whatever all else. So I want to read a couple of these comments. Bonita says, my crown has nearly gone silver, but I have it in micro dreadlocks for 4 years. Good for you. Just ask for guidance. It always comes. I lost 3 loved ones during the COVID-19 pandemic who did not have COVID-19, but I believe that loneliness and sickness is a COVID-19 collateral debt. Yes. Um, yes. And a lot of people got sick from uh, taking that experimental drug, which was not a vaccine, and now they're finally admitting, well, it wasn't really a vaccine. Yeah, the government does stuff like that. They did it to our soldiers. They that's a whole nother thing. I'm not even gonna go there. Um, this isn't a time to be selfish, right? Don't be scared. Get prepared. That's all. Don't waste your energy on fearing the boogeyman. Just look around you, deal with the facts as they are. Ask God for guidance. What do I need to do? What is the best course for my family? Because everybody's family is different. What works for me may not work for you. I live in a house. You may live in a condo or an apartment or a retirement home or wherever you are. You may not be able to do the things that I can do. And I may not be able to do the things that somebody that's living in a 8-room house can do. Or well, I don't know. But you have to ask God, what is the best thing for you and yours? And listen to people's conversation around you. It'll tell you a lot about where they are in regard to what's on in the world right now. And you will know whether this is a person that you can trust, this is a person that you have some um, uh, common goals or whatever all else, and perhaps you can come together and do a garden together or something like that. Is a garden going to feed your whole family for a year? No, not unless you have several acres of land. No, it won't. But it's something. It's something. Do everything you can do to be more self reliant and get further and further out of these systems as quickly as you can. If you can get out of debt, get out of debt. I will never forget about 13 years ago, I felt that God kept pushing me to get my house paid off, get my house paid off, get my house paid off. So I did. I mean, I pushed. I had 14 years left, 13, 14 years left on my mortgage. As a matter of fact, if I had kept paying it at the rate that I was supposed to be paying it, it wouldn't have got paid off until this year or maybe next year. So, um, but he kept pushing me, get the house paid off, get the house. So I did. So and I don't have any. Listen, folks, I don't have any bills. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have rent. I don't have none of that. I had none of that. God blessed me because I kept asking Him. So, and the scripture says, if you acknowledge Him in all of your ways, He will direct your path. I don't have any debt. I don't owe anybody anything. We have utilities and food. That's it. That's it. So I'm able to help other people. We're able to bless other people. We feed a group of people every month. We come together. I update them on things that I'm updating you guys on, but we prepare a meal for them. And now some of them have started bringing what they could to the group so that the people can eat and all that, because we're trying to build a sense of community. People need to understand you need each other. You can't do everything yourself. Somebody knows how to do something that you don't know how to do. You know how to do something that they don't know how to do. And so it's a group effort, right? And so do the best you can. Do the best you can. Be smart about your finances. Don't listen to these people that are telling you to do all this crazy stuff with your money, or getting on CNN and MSNBC and all these other places telling you Number one, that the border is secure when you can see the people pouring in by the thousands, okay? Uh, or telling you that there is no crisis and that the banks are just fine. Oh, we're not going to bail them out, but then they turn around in less than 48 hours and bail them out. They lie about everything. This government is corrupt. Okay, I'm just telling you, they are. And if you still singing their praise and want to vote this fool back in next year, God help you. You deserve whatever you get. That's all I. You deserve it because by now you should see that something is rotten in Denmark. Okay, all right. I'm just saying. All right, that's it. I'm done ranting. Some of you guys need to give a thumbs up because I'm looking at the numbers and they're not matching the thumbs up. So, thank you for coming by. Sit down with your families, have a conversation. If you're the only one left in your family, have a talk with yourself. Talk to yourself. Talk some sense into yourself and figure out, with the help of God, what is your next step? Do you need to downsize? Now, let me tell you something. Like I said, I ain't no marketing expert, but this is a bad time to try to sell. Okay. If you're in a house, don't try to sell it right now. Unless you have no mortgage or anything on it, you're going to be upside down in your house. Okay. So I'm just saying, it's going to be a mess. Watch your finances. Get out of these banks if you can, and turn your money into tangible assets. I will see you guys the next time I come on. Keep preparing your pantries. Do the best you can with your money. Rebudget. Hone up some of those skills, maybe things you used to do a long time ago that can make you money now. Who knows, right? You don't know. And I thank you all for your time. I do. I appreciate you being here on no notice, even though I gave one. And remember, my email address is in the description box. It's there. I answer all of my emails. I thank you for writing, and I do answer all of them. So, just saying, check your spam. If I'm not in your contact list, it will probably go to your spam when I answer you. So, make sure that you check your spam. I'll answer you if you write me. And also, I would appreciate if you guys would send in to me and let me know where you live, like what state you live in or what city you live in and what's happening in the supermarkets there. Um, because different people are experiencing different things. Like some people are saying, this is the first time, like I saw one story last week, this is the first time I've seen shortages in my area. Well, guess what? Shortages have been going on for over a year. It's just that it's starting to hit different places now, right? So let me know what's happening in your area and how things are doing in your area, and make sure that you have this conversation with your family members and friends or whatever. See where their head is with things, right? If this is a person that you can talk to and reason with, maybe pool your resources together or whatever to make it easier for you going forward, because we're not coming out of this anytime soon, folks. Okay, this is where they drug us into this mess, and it is up to us to navigate and manage our lives until God brings us through to the other side. All right. So have a good evening. Thank you for coming on again. And God bless you. Keep prepping, keep praying, and I will see you the next time I come on. Take care.